What I'm saying is like, if the majority of people who wear backwards hats commit majority of the crimes, if you wear a backwards hat, police are going to target you.
Most of the crime.
I do think black people commit way more crimes than any other race.
So you're going to say that 13% of the population commits more crimes than the majority of the population, right?
It depends on the crime.
That's what you're going with?
It depends on the crime, yeah.
Just trying to say something.
Go ahead, Nuggets, and then there's a new guest, so I'm going to let the new guest get in.
So, Polly, are you attempting to quote 13% of the population, 50% of the crime? Is that what you believe, Polly?
When it comes to unaliving, yeah, 50%, yeah.
Okay. Are you aware that those are arrest statistics that you're quoting?
Yeah, but there's where are you getting at?
Do arrests mean you did it? If you get arrested for something, does that mean you did it?
No, you're innocent until proven guilty.
Okay, cool. So
Wait. Are you saying 13% of the population, black people, are not committing 50% of the unaliving rates?
No.
I want to point out that you keep saying
I disagree.
Hold on, guys. Again, I'm just going to be clear. I don't want my mods to have to do overtime. We cannot be interrupting each other. It is hard for the chat to hear. It is hard for me to hear, and it is overstimulating. So please don't do that. If I'm talking,
this is the great. Sorry,
Robert. That's for you too.
I thought you were done. I was going to say this is a great.
That's fine. But I believe Nuggets and Polly were having a dialogue, and I can't recall who was last before the interruption.
If you put up this graph while he talks, he'll look stupid.
Yeah, just Robert, throw that in the chat, and then my mods will let me know.
Okay.
Nuggets, Polly, I don't know who was speaking last. Go ahead.
So, anyways, as you can see, they're pretty close to being equal as far as who actually quote commits. But Polly, with that being said, conviction would be typically the determination of whether or not you did it in a way, right? Would be how you view it, I would imagine, if one is convicted. But are you also aware that black people make up over 50% of all exonerations in the entirety of the United States?
I agree with that, 100%.
Okay, so if that is the case, that number one, you are quoting arrest for crimes, right? And it's broken down by types of crimes, right? But
I do believe that 50% of the unaliving crimes are committed by the black community. I really do. So if you want to continue the talk afterwards, I'll gladly.
Yeah, I'm going to let Adorna.
Normally people are speaking about the arrests, but even when you are speaking about the convictions themselves, it's just incorrect. So this is the 2019 FBI data, which is the last data that they have. And this is table 6, which is the actual unalivings, not the arrests. So where people generally get that number from, these are the victims, these are the offenders, and what they're usually looking at is the total, which is 6,000, right? Around 6,000. And then they see that this chart says that black people have committed 3,000, around 3,000, right? So they are usually saying this 3,000 is half of this 6,000, except that what they fail to do is scroll to the bottom, which specifically states that, there's an asterisk, and you can read it if you want, but it specifically pretty much states that unless the law enforcement agency has the age, sex, race, and ethnicity, then they don't include it in the chart. So that means the 6,000 is not actually the total number. So what is the actual total number? The actual total number for 2019 unalivings was, it's right here. This is also, sorry, just so you know what this is. This is also 2019 unalivings, but this is just the total summary, right? So for 2019, right here, 2019, the estimated number of unalivings in the nation was 16,000. And so 3,000 is not half, it's not 50% of 16,000, which means black people didn't actually commit 16,000. People just never read the asterisk at the bottom to realize the 6,000 is not the total number. But also I want to say that this is why I say racism is not based necessarily on hate. I'm not going to say Paulie's hateful. I don't know Paulie, but even if Paulie isn't hateful, you see how he not only believed, but also perpetuated a racist stereotype. That is called implicit bias. The fact of the matter is the reason we say all white people are racist is because in our society, there are obviously negative discriminatory stereotypes that are associated with different groups, such as Paulie just passed on, right? But it's not just white people. Black people, I would say, are all also inherently anti-black, but for the same reason, because we're socialized in the same society that makes Paulie believe believe what he believes, it also makes us believe what we believe. So all white people are racist, all black people are inherently anti-black, and you just perpetuated some serious harm there, thinking, oh, just last thing. One of the reasons this is harmful is because let's say there are police officers that believe what Paulie believes. Black people commit so much violent crime, especially unalivings. This is how we end up with people like Philando Castile, right? Because an officer will stop him, think that he's more violent, and then unalive him just because he's afraid, even though he didn't do anything wrong. Stop perpetuating racist stereotypes. The end.
Thank you, Adorna.
Because you keep saying these violent.
Interrupted here. Yeah, like I agree with you. I think white people probably have more mental health issues than black people. I don't think, and I want to clarify. I don't think if you're born black or white, whatever, you're like bound to commit more crimes than other. I think it's culture. I don't think it's color of skin. But I do believe, I really do believe that that black culture causes unaliving rates
I'm so
more
sorry.
than any other culture in America.
On a culture
and-
you're talking about.
Hang on. Yeah, like
You think you know about us just
I don't have to. Yeah, like my point is, and Adorna, I will gladly look at that statistic, and if I'm wrong, I will admit I'm wrong. I really will, but I have to see myself. It was hard to I still don't know what your source was.
The
Like
FBI.
you were zooming in. I was reading the numbers.
Can you listen to her? Yeah, she's showing you.
Yeah, I showed you it was the FBI. This is the FBI, FBI.gov. It's the FBI 2019 crime stats, which are their last stats, and this is their table 6, which are their homicides. But even in regards to what you just said, in regards to black people and their culture, this is the Department of Justice.gov. Where is it? DOJ, right? And this is their percent of violent incidents by race. This is for 2020, which is their last ones that they have. These are white people in terms of victim. These are the offenders. And what you'll find on this chart is that there is more white on white crime than there is black on black crime. So is it your guys' culture? It could be the family annihilators. Or the school people. I don't know which
in
one.
Adorna,
Is it your
the
culture?
only-
To be more specific, right? There are obviously more white people, but that's why this chart goes into the percentages. So for white people that have unalived white people or committed violent crimes towards them, right? So of the people, white people that have committed violent crimes, that have been the victims of violent crimes, 69% of them were done by white people. Of black people that were victims of violent crimes, 65% of them were done by black people, right? So forgetting the hard numbers, even in the percentages, just what percentage of the crime was committed by someone of the same crime, white people actually commit more crime against white people. But you guys don't say that it's your culture, but somehow you like to focus on black people's culture. Is family annihilation white people culture? You guys.
Do you think, and we don't know black people cops profile black people more than any other race?
because of
Why is that so?
I think it's because since the inception of this country, what we know is that capitalism, for example, that the first capital in this country were black bodies, right? And so from this inception of this country, in order to keep people, hold on, let me rephrase. I think most people actually do want to be good, right? And so you have to find a way to make people who are otherwise considerably good people okay with what's happening to a particular group of people. And so if you say that these people are more criminalistic, they're they're causing this to happen to themselves, they don't have a good family structure, then you make the otherwise good people okay with what's happening to them, and therefore you can create a permanent working class. You can create people who are kept in a particular structure. You can do whatever you want to them, and it's okay with everyone else because they're bringing it on themselves. And that's why these stereotypes are perpetuated against us. What you find out is that, for example, in Angola, which is the state prison in Louisiana, Angola is literally built on. It's a plantation. It's literally an old plantation where black people are picking cotton, literally. Today, right? 3/4 of them are there for life, and almost 80% of the prisoners are black. So when you want a black workforce, and we know that convict leasing is legal. Alabama actually has a lawsuit on it right now because they were literally people who were actually up for parole that deserved parole were being denied so they could continue working. I can show you the lawsuit, right? So what happens is, yes, you need a permanent working class, and we can do that by demonizing these people, and they've been doing it literally since this country started.
But again, I'm going to ask you, why do you feel so comfortable speaking on black culture when you are not black yourself? So you don't know what black culture is.
Well, it's the same argument that a vegan can speak on the way that a cow is treated. You don't have to be a cow to be spoken on, to be aware of how a cow is treated. I don't think.
Okay, so then I'll ask you this, Polly. What is black culture? What about black culture is making us so violent? Since you feel entitled to speak on it.
Well, That's the argument.
No, I'm
That's
asking you,
the debate here.
so you presented the argument, right? Which was you feel like black culture is what makes black people violent, right? And I said you can't speak on it because you're a YT. You don't know what black culture is, but you insist on speaking on it. So now I'm asking you directly, what about black culture, right, makes us violent?
Well, we can talk about some examples. Like for example, why are black people dropping out of high school in large rates compared to any other race?
I don't want to
Why
equate
is that?
So, Polly, that would equate to poverty, but how does that equate to violence? I'm asking you specifically, right? You asked a question without answering mine. My question to you was very specific. What about black culture makes black people violent? It's okay to say you
Yeah,
don't know.
that's a good question. It's a good question. I don't know, but it's a complicated question. Like I don't have the answer off the top of my
So
head.
with that being said, right, you are not a black person and you don't know, right? I think that you would have to concede from saying that and using that as an argument in this discussion. Right?
Well, I do believe, and Adorna brought up a FBI statistic, which I'll gladly look at, but I do believe that it is the case that black people commit more crimes due to culture.
Okay, but you keep saying that. How do you make that statement when you don't know what the culture is, right? You're saying, I believe this thing, but you can't even articulate what black culture is. So to believe a thing that you have no basis or knowledge of makes no sense to me, right? If you were asking the question, right, why you think that this thing is happening, you would start to look at all types of things, right, to try and figure out why. I wouldn't.
But here's the thing on black culture. I believe there are more statistics than the unaliving rate. Like for example, I brought up dropping out of high school and higher rates than any other race that tie to their culture, not their color of their skin. That we can talk about, but
Yeah, but that's not because of culture. Sorry.
Hold on a second,
disagree.
guys. I'm gonna let Diego go first, and then.
I think culture can especially play a role in crime. I think if we look at countries across the board, I think we can see that. I'm not I'm not saying that, like if you're born black, you're more likely to commit a crime. I'm not saying that, but I do think I do think black culture ties a big role in committing more crime. I really do.
No, that
Oh, what you're showing is that it doesn't matter. You said you care about the numbers. You actually don't care about the numbers because we could give a million numbers, and no matter what, to you, it's going to be black people bad. That's what it's going to be because it doesn't matter. I've shown you stats that show white people commit more white-on-white crime. So, but you didn't say it was their culture. I've shown you stats that show that black people don't actually commit more 50% of the unalivings. I could actually give you stats that show that white people commit more rape, they commit more arson, they commit more motor vehicle theft, carjacking, they commit more when people white collar crimes. But the point is, they actually commit the most crime, even disproportionately. But somehow you're not going to say it's their culture, is it? Even though as a matter of fact, on the FBI crime stats, there is a line that specifically says just violent crime, and black and white people commit that more, even disproportionately. Is it their culture?
And you wouldn't tie that to culture at all?
I said white people. Do you think it's white?
And you wouldn't tie. Okay, and you wouldn't tie that to culture at all.
I mean, I
Can
think
you answer her question?
Yeah, why is it that you keep saying it's black people's culture but not white people's culture when white people actually commit most of the crime, violent crime, and
Per capita though?
First of all, because we specifically asked you in regards to unaliving stats, what you were talking about, you said hard numbers. You said you actually thought that black people did 50 the actual crime. You didn't even say per capita, because even if you had said per capita, I'd been like, okay, but I knew you meant hard numbers, and they asked you and you confirmed it.
That's not true. That's not true.
Absolutely. I'd be willing to bet you $1,000.
Then show me and bet me $1,000. It's not true.
Wow, I can pull it. They specifically said, are you saying that black people commit 50% of the crime? And you said, yes.
Yeah.
You're not a results man. What you are is actually a sheep in that you came in here with a lot of talking points, right? You are not a numbers man, as you never not one time ever looked at any of these numbers until Adorna, before getting banned, showed you multiple times on the FBI crime website. You didn't even know what the UCR was, because had you ever actually pulled it up and looked at it, you would know that it's got the cute little FBI emblem all over it. You can't miss it. You've never seen it a day in your life. And you literally came in here with I think and I feel. Then you tried to excuse the violent culture behavior of white people saying, it's not a violence problem. It's a mental health problem. You said that. You said, I think mental health is an issue in the white community. If you think it's such an issue, why don't you advocate? If you think it's such an issue, why don't you advocate? Furthermore, even if you're not a numbers guy, I get it. Numbers is hard. Math is for some people. I get it. Especially with abstract concepts such as human beings and things like that, where things get complicated, right? You cannot point to a time in history where Black people did this on a global level, even a continental level, a country level. You can't. But what you do have is an abundant source and supply of white people colonizing, terrorizing, unaliving, a lot of other horrible things. You have a lot of plain ass examples of that throughout your civics and history book. But yet you somehow arrive at the conclusion it's not a violence problem, it's a mental health problem for white people. For Black people, it's a Black culture thing. Black people are violent, yet when Black Swan asked you, what about Black culture leads you to that conclusion? The only thing that led you to that conclusion is that you are a sheep and you are being spoon-fed white supremacist talking points by literal Yahtzees, and you just quite simply swallow it like a good little boy.